We are back live here for Heavy Muscle Radio on this December 6th, 2021 afternoon. I'm here with Chris Aceto and John Romano. Welcome back, guys. Hope you had a great weekend. And we had another bodybuilding show, the Toronto Super Show this past weekend, which is usually held in June. Delayed, obviously, probably because of restrictions and COVID and stuff like that. And so we had a December show. Can you believe it?
Fuck the show. I'm just glad nobody died yet between the last show and this show.
You're right. This could be a record. We might have made it. I don't think we made it a complete week yet, but it's pretty close.
Close.
Unbelievable, right?
Well, Dave Draper, and then that was what last Wednesday?
Yeah, so we haven't really made it a week. Don't jinx us.
I'm sorry.
I do have to say one thing. Of all the people who competed at the Toronto Super Show, I have to say that I'm really pretty amazed that Stan Delonghu made it, because Stan lived with Sean Roden, who we know passed recently, and he trained with him, and he was even at the funeral with Chris, last week, and he showed up on that stage, man. That shows you dedication to your sport, huh?
Yeah.
Well, how people always say, well, Sean would have wanted it that way. But Sean would have wanted it that way, yeah. Meaning, he came to the funeral, but that's the way Sean was. He was always telling people to, chase their dreams. Sure. Don't worry. Always this. Don't worry about me. Do what you need to do for yourself. I'll take care of myself. So,
that just goes to show, some people have a level of dedication that are just, it's better than other people, and you can't teach that to someone. It's got to just come from inside you. And I know people that make excuses all the time to me about how they can't go to the gym because they got a sniffly nose and they can't breathe and they have an ache because they scraped their leg, riding a bicycle over the weekend. You hear Chris, John, you hear these excuses. Find a way to get to the gym. You had Steve Mahalik when Mahalik got into that car accident, John, wasn't he like in a wheelchair? His brother brought him to the gym, right?
Yeah. With a brace on. He had cancer and he's training. The guy, with my clients, I've learned over the years that all of the realm of success and progress boils down to one thing that is the most difficult perception to share. And that is intensity, the drive. And it's, you could have the same diet, the same training routine, the same everything. And one person, genetics being equal, one person is going to excel at a different level than the other. And the only thing that you can distill down to the basic element of why as the common denominator is what they are able to put out. So some people's idea of intensity is completely different and on a lower level than someone else's, and it's the one with the most intensity that's going to do the best, I believe.
Yeah, the people that are willing to sacrifice the most too. Some
suffering. It's all about suffering. It's how much can you suffer. The guy that can suffer the most. Look at Dorian. Dorian's the best example of super high intensity generation. Nobody could generate as much intensity.
Well, we were talking about Gaspari before the show started.
Him too, right
there.
And
when I came on your show, John, I said, I worked out at the bodybuilding camp for Weider in 87, 8, and 89, and undisputed king of training, period, full stop, uncomparable was Gaspari.
Yeah.
So that golden age, take him from Haney, DeMay, Tom Platz, Samir, Brian Buchanan. I got to train with all those guys. Definitely day in, day out, Gaspari smoked everyone. He was mindless, really.
So ask him to describe that.
Yeah, but it was normal to him.
Exactly.
Exactly. He's still training too with the same intensity. Look at him.
Yeah, he is unstoppable. I'm telling you.
I told him the other day.
Rich is the best.
That's a cool machine too.
Yeah, we were talking the other day. I was like, Rich, you can't train like you are when you're 20 anymore. That's just the bottom line. I said you're going to wind up in a wheelchair.
Dave, you know what the crazy thing is I think he was. He was in the Olympia at
At 22.
Okay, I'm trying to think of the summer I worked out with him. It was like 87.
Yeah.
And so he might have been 21 and he was in the Olympia. But that was not in his mind at all that, I'm 21. It was just that I got to win the Olympia.
Yep. Isn't that crazy?
And he trained, right? He trained 3 on, 1 off twice a day.
Yeah.
There it is.
Unbelievable.
He was at that point, I think when he was getting ready for the Olympia, he was 6 on, 1 off. So Monday through Saturday.
You know how many pairs of those colored posing trunks that Andreas Calling must have sold back then after Richie wore those things? Right? Those marooned posing trunks.
Yeah.
He was the only one who had those on, right?
Yeah, the thing that impressed me most about him at that age was the maturity, his muscle maturity. The way that density and separation that you usually only see in guys that are like, well into their 30s or early 40s, it was just the guy.
For me, it was mental maturity because
that too. Yeah.
A lot of 21-year-olds, well, no 21-year-olds outside of him would have made it to the Olympia.
No.
But having been at the Olympia, he was not arrogant.
No, you're right.
That's a huge plus on his ability to improve, because if you're 21, I mean, you're the man, right? And you're getting 2nd or 3rd in the Olympia. I mean, nobody can tell you what to do, or nobody can tell you, for most 21-year-olds, it all have gone to their head by then.
Sure.
His was, I still got to get better. And he had no distractions. There was no distractions.
No, no kids, no wife, nothing. He
was just getting over the big game, being addicted to Dungeons and Dragons at 21 years old.
He gave himself a year. He dropped out of college.
Is that what it was?
Was like not happy about that at all.
I didn't even know that.
I got to give it a year. I'm going to give it 1 year. And he said to his parents, within that year, I'm going to turn pro. I'm going to turn pro, win the universe, and compete in the Olympia. And he was the story that was really funny, the way he tells it, is that he was, I think, was it Chicago that were when he won the Nationals or the USA? Did he turn pro? I can't even remember.
Nationals.
Okay, so I think one was in Chicago, one was in Florida, or something like that. One was in Miami. So he's telling his parents that they're buying their airline tickets for the Nationals, and he says, while you're at it, make sure you get the ones for Chicago too. I'm going to win the universe.
That's good confidence.
He did it.
Well, John, it's not to say that he didn't have it, but what's interesting is, because he did have it, mentally and physically, is that he set a very short deadline. A lot of people would say, I'm going to give it 5 years, but they never turn it into 5th gear until it's too late. Or
it seemed like he didn't have a choice. Like he would have gotten his ass kicked by his father if he didn't show that he could actually have some abilities in the sport, right? Or the ability to make money, at least,
that blew his father away later. It's with some cute stories he tells about his dad going with him to the event, or wherever, and he's selling pictures and T-shirts, and the father can't believe he goes, "You're selling me? People are paying for your picture?" And then he was giving his dad the money, and by the end of the weekend, the dad is carrying around more than cash than he ever made in a year. And he's like, "Yeah, you made all of this." It was like, couldn't believe it. I mean, I love those kind of stories, because it's you go, because I've gone to my father with some crazy ideas, and I'm thinking to myself now, if Max came to me with the same concoction, what I would say, and when you're that age, it's like it's the whole world. You believe it; it's the truth, And Dad, I'm going to be a bodybuilder. I'm going to win the universe. Don't pick up those blocks over there and mix me another batch of cement.
Right? Yeah. The funny thing is that Italian people don't know anything about the bodybuilding. What do they know about bodybuilding? Right. They know like sports, like football, baseball. It's like body. You're gonna make body. What is that? Isn't that for gay people? That's what my father was on.
Yeah. So I mean, the whole thing, the way it worked out was just. I think it's one of the best stories in our sport. I really do.
Yeah, he's a good success story for sure. Yep. And he's lost money and come back from it a couple of times too, several times, more than once.
He is the what's his name? the Russian czar's butler.
No, I call him the
Rasmussen. He's the Rasmussen.
He's like John Travolta. He's like John Travolta. Remember when Travolta was on top of the world, like when he was, doing Grease and Saturday Night Fever, and then all of a sudden, like, no one wanted to hire him for any acting jobs, and then Quentin Tarantino brought him back for Pulp Fiction, and that revitalized his whole career.
But Richie's like the Rasmussen of bodybuilding. You can't kill him. Like Rasmussen, remember? They shot him. They threw him in the river. They stabbed him. They blew him up. And the guy just keeps coming back. You can't kill this guy. That's Richie. You cannot stop him.
It's more like a fact that he just keeps reinventing himself. I think that's what makes him so successful. Vic Richards actually posted on his Facebook. For people who don't know the story, Vic Richards, it was a report that he had passed away, and that everyone was trying to figure out if he really died. And then I texted him, and people were trying to reach out, no response, and so everyone reported all over the place that Victor Richards had died. Whoever started the rumor, it spread. So then Victor, a week later, he waits a week to tell everyone, and he supposedly his quote daughter contacted Generation Iron and said he wasn't dead, but it was probably really him, And then he puts out this thing on Facebook that me, Andreas Calling, and I forget who else are the devil, and that he's got this whole conspiracy theory. So we did this video over the weekend. It's pretty funny, where Sid made me look like the devil. So that's pretty funny. Hold on, let me pull this up.
But why is he picking on us?
Well, he's picking on anyone. The truth of the matter is, John, and I know, number one, the person, the daughter who reported that he was still alive was definitely him. Yeah. And number two, he probably started the whole rumor about his death to begin with. And he probably did it because he wasn't feeling like he was relevant enough in the industry. Now, when I texted him that morning, when all the people started contacting me that they heard he died, all he had to do was text me back and say it's not true, and that would have been the end of the story, right? So he allowed it to mushroom out of control.
Well, Dave, you were not the first or the second or the third.
No, I didn't even put it on my Instagram, never, because I didn't ever believed it from the beginning.
Right. So it metastasizes into something dreadful, apart from you, us, and RX, and yet we still get blamed.
Well, it was just he's mad. You know what it is? He's mad still about the Ed Connors thing. That Ed told us that he fired the gun in the Gold's Gym.
Let him be mad at Ed. What do
He is mad at Ed. That was part of the.
Oh, he's very mad at Ed.
That was part of the unholy trinity. It was Ed,
Chris,
Dave, and Andreas Calling.
The unholy trinity. There I am, Lucifer.
What Andreas say?
I don't know. I didn't even talk to him. He had heard. I believe that Victor Richards started the whole rumor himself. I really do. I think he leaked it himself just to create some drama. That's really my belief. I have no way of proving it, of course, there's probably a way to prove it, but I have no time to be, dealing with all that bullshit. So anyway, like I said from the beginning, I'm glad that he's alive and nothing happened bad to him. But
no, we're all glad he's alive. I mean, come on, that's crazy not to. But so what's the disposition now? We're the bad guy.
No. Everyone thinks he's insane. No one's taking.
But that's a constant. That's never changed. That was true 25 years ago. It's true today. That's unchanged. Yeah. The issue is, why is he mad at us? And I mean, Calling is another story.
Because as opposed to the other three people who reported it.
Yeah. Because
it's like a rope-a-dope.
No,
it's a rope-a-dope. He's expecting Dave to do like a 4-hour segment on it.
Yeah. Or that Dave was supposed to jump to his defense and say,
that Dave would make it like blow it out of proportion more, and then it could, keep him more, on the internet.
It's as Sid always tells me, we're very relevant, John, and so whenever something is reported on our channel, it's given more credibility, I think, and that's why. So that's the reason.
Dave, how many text messages do you get where you find out, like, so and so was arrested and so-and-so's enemy sends it to you, and you're not sure if it was arrested or not. And they said, Dave, you should do a show immediately on this.
Chris, how many crazy nutty stories do I send to you? Like at least
hundreds,
once a week. Where I'm
hundreds.
like, Chris, you think
honestly
over the
last 5 years, 100, and some. You know what? The fact is, some of those are very true. And Dave, doesn't, or he decides, you know what? I'm just going to stay away from this one.
Yeah. It's like the boy who cried wolf. I mean, which one are you going to believe?
Some of them, John, I've sent them to you too. They're so crazy. Some of these things, the gossip behind them is like, I'm like, I don't care if this person, did this or that with his girlfriend. It doesn't matter to me. It has nothing to do with bodybuilding. So
but the other side of that is, while we're doing a show, Lou Ferrigno calls and says,
"That's right.
Did you hear Dave Draper died?"
That's true.
So the opposite is true. We're the ones they come to first. If you hear something news, who are you going to go to first? Let's go to RX. Because we're the best.
Yeah.
So,
and the thing about it also, John, TMZ, which is a very, very popular news app, and gossip app, they don't put the stories up first. You know why? No. Because they research these things to make sure that they don't make mistakes. Right. So if you see it on TMZ, more than likely it's a pretty accurate story.
And you build reputations. Based on it. Look at WikiLeaks. I mean, Julian Assange was never wrong in 10 years. Never wrong. Never
ever.
So when he says something or he posts it,
they believe it.
Pretty much gonna be the way it is,
Yeah.
So I'm glad we fit in that category. Whether people think enough of us that look, we got to take the criticism along with the accolades. I mean, sometimes we're not going to be perfect every time. So
true.
We can try.
All right, let's talk about Chicago. Excuse me, Toronto Pro Show. Joel Thomas. Who we've always talked about as being a guy with a tremendous amount of potential, and we just never really saw him realize that potential. Chris, talk to me, number one, what do you like about Joel Thomas's physique, and did you think he deserved to win this show?
It was a toss-up, but I would say he probably deserved it. And we've always said that he has a powerful physique, no missing body parts, big legs, big calves, big arms, big back, big everything. He's always come into the shows like the last 3 years in good condition, but he gets trumped by people who are in like tremendous condition, who aren't quite as big, or, it boils down to that. He's had some decent placings, but he hasn't been able to like move up simply because there's something a little off, not drastically off with his conditioning. And here his condition was really good, and it was good enough to show off. And I think this video probably doesn't show really the level of condition that he had. But it was good enough to, his condition was good to the point where it was able to highlight all his strengths. He's got a good back, great quads, big arms, big delts, crazy delts, super most muscular. Sometimes it's picking the right show, right? So.
It was a good thing because he was fresh from the whole year, and then he kind of just jumps into this at the end and wins and qualifies for the Olympia. So I guess it was a good move on his part. The question was he good enough to beat Quinton Eriya? Which, I mean, the general consensus of between people you talk to and what you see online is that this and I happen to agree with them, by the way, is that Quinton Eriya should have won this show. I mean. He's got bells and whistles galore on this.
Yeah, film. You know what? It's weird because this is the best condition that Quinton's ever been in by far. He's had some conditioning issues in the past, and I think he's bigger than last year for sure. He's better than the previous shows that he was in this year for sure. It's almost like this weird, are they judging him for what he could be? He's in really, really good shape here. He's in better shape overall, than Joel. And you would think that being in tremendous condition and having this type of flow would be enough to win the show. So I think where they gave Joel the edge is Joel rather is a quote more massive bodybuilder, and maybe judges who were there, had preference for the mass, or that the only way you can criticize Quinton here is quote, he has to be bigger. It's always that, right? See where, he's got to be bigger. We'd like to see him bigger. Yeah, I would like to see him bigger too, but it's a pretty damn impressive package.
Who would you compare him to? Like, I was looking at him, and I hate making the Ronnie Coleman comparisons because he looks like a young Ronnie to me, doesn't he?
He's Patrick Moore with bigger legs. Way
bigger legs, yeah.
Yeah, with way bigger legs. So
I think he's wider than Patrick Moore too.
He doesn't have much back width. That's why he got beat on the back lat spread. He got beat on the back double in terms of back, but he's got the glutes and hams over Joel.
Yeah.
So, he's got great structure. He's got a great future. And sometimes when you write great future, I hate it. Great future. Sometimes judges, right? They're like, oh, he's got a great future. We want to see him bigger. Or when he's bigger, it's like great future, but we'd love to see him harder. It's like they're judging you on what you could potentially be versus what you are right there. Because if you have to dissect the physique, where's his flaws? I mean, you could only say, well, the flaw is, I guess, got to be bigger.
Right.
But to me, that's big enough for that condition and that flow.
And for that lineup, right?
Yeah,
that's really what it amounts to. Who are you beating? It's who's the best guy up there? That's really what it amounts to.
All Quinton had to do was turn his head during that back double in the bag.
I knew you were going to say that. Well, I mean,
it's true. I mean, his traps are insane.
Yeah. I mean, think about Quinton with 15 pounds more muscle on his body. I mean, that's an Olympia. I mean, that's a Mr. Olympia.
With the same little tiny waist, forget about it.
Yeah.
I mean, even if his waist got a teeny bit bigger, it wouldn't even matter. I mean, think about it. I mean, he would be like freak. That's when I say Ronnie Coleman, that's what it comes to mind. When I see Ronnie back in the day, when he was first starting out, you can see the frame and you can see the potential. He just didn't, once again, and he had those crazy arms and upper body, but he didn't really, and he had the big quads, but he kind of was missing like the glutes and hams and his back wasn't quite as big. And as he filled in the gaps, he got more and more dominant,
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because you would think that they would, right? If you would think they would give it to him. It's a Canadian show. It's in Canada. He's a Canadian. He came up through the Canadian ranks. You would just think that, and that's not being unfair.
No, I know.
It's down to being close and say, well, give it to the local guy.
I was surprised, at the decision for sure.
That's not to take anything away from. I think this is the best Joel Thomas we've seen. It's just that, and they are two different type of physiques. But I mean, everyone loves a power physique. That's Joel. But everyone loves to see something special. We don't see a lot of Quintons around anymore, right? Yeah. Because they go into classic. Mm-hmm. The Quinton type bodies go into classic.
He was in classic, and he moved up from classic.
So he's putting weight on. That's good.
He's put a lot of weight on. Let's talk about, I was very impressed with third place, Joe Seaman. I mean, I know he didn't come out of nowhere, but, we really haven't talked about him a lot on as far as, a guy who's got great potential. I mean, he really was the biggest and hardest guy in this lineup, if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, he's like the B version of Joel. Like he's meaning, I think I thought Joel's more powerful looking. Joel's got a better back.
I don't know, Chris. I think Joel just has a smaller waist is really what it amounts to.
Yeah, this guy's waist is kind of thick.
He's like a Cutler, this guy, without the Cutler wit, without maybe the Cutler wow.
Well, I think that's going a little too far.
No, but he's got a very J-like structure. He's just not as big.
It's easier to say he's got a blocky waist because the rest of him bears no resemblance to Jay.
Yeah,
I don't know. Look at those delts and quads. Are you kidding me?
No, but let's talk. The good stuff is that he's in really good shape, and I mean, he deserved third place. He's big. He's hard. Great quads. Really good shoulders. He's a little wide-waisted, but not that bad. I think the wide waist you only really see in the lineup. That's where you can see it. And it's not like crazy wide. It's just that it's
just you can tell. Personally, it's that first second and a half that they're out on stage where you get the first initial hit, and right within that second and a half, whether you like it or not.
Not to discount the show, because I think this is also Joe Seaman's probably best, but he seems to have always, the last 4 or 5 shows, or 3, 4 shows, he's improving. But those improvements people didn't notice really, because they were in shows where there was more depth, where he was kicked out of the top 5, just because you had some Olympians or would-be Olympians first, second, and third. So, he ends up relegated to just outside the top 5. So, not only is this his best, but it's, people are recognizing it probably because of the placing. Top 3 in a pro show is a big deal.
That's true. That's true. Aaron Gawley finishes in 4th. I really didn't know much about him. I thought he was his legs were a little on the small side, but he was in really, really good shape. Terrific conditioning. He's got to be thrilled to death because no one had him on their radar whatsoever.
It's great when that happens.
Analysis, Chris?
He's, big guy, good physique, really good condition. To be able to land in 4th is, in any pro shows, hard to do. So, that's a reflection of the condition that he brought. Big guys take longer time to fill out their frames, to beat a Seaman or to beat a like Joel, the winner would take, more muscle, but pretty complete for a big guy.
Very good conditioning.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I always tell we say this over and over, like broken records. Conditioning a lot of times, win shows. It pushes you into contention, and sometimes guys that are not a factor or in people's minds will place a lot higher because they come in shape. I remember Pavel Jablonski.
Yeah, Pavel Jablonski.
Example.
Yep.
He never had great legs or anything like that. He wasn't huge, but the guy was always shredded to the bone. And
he kept coming back and coming back and coming back.
He was 50. He was doing it.
Unbelievable. Pavel Jablonski. Yeah, I did never forget that guy.
And I think he smoked. I think he was a cigarette smoker too. I think.
Yeah, he was.
Europeans were, man.
Wasn't he?
Menthols.
But Marcus Rule, remember he between right after prejudging, he's outside.
The Europeans like their cigarettes.
They love smoking, man.
Yeah. Let's talk about. We mentioned him earlier. Let's talk about Stan Delonghu. Give me your analysis of him, Chris.
Thicker hair than he was at the Legions. He's just got to, he's coming along. He's, moving up from classic.
He was a men's physique guy first, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was physique to classic to open.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So there's doing a Sean Roden.
That's like an apprenticeship, you do, right? When you start there.
That was funny.
His condition is good here.
Hurt his head. Holy shit. That's awesome.
He must
John just moved him up 2 places.
I just moved him up. I did.
Yeah, really. John's got him in 3rd now. The fact that he looked as good as he did, and I think he could have been, tighter here, maybe was a little flat, is amazing considering what he went through over the last couple of weeks, with the Sean Roden, death
4
and stuff
weeks.
like that. So,
4 weeks.
That is pretty amazing. So
incredible.
Hats off to him.
Yep.
What did you think, Chris, about the 212 division? I'll pull those up in a second while you're talking.
Bring up the pictures because I don't know the winner. I don't know of him.
There was a lot of guys that were no-name guys that or not no-name, but just
everyone was no-name. In terms of really household 212 guys, who've I think the guy who got second has won the show a couple of years ago. I forget his name. Canadian guy. I think the name there was, of course, David Henry, who ended up 3rd.
Yeah, it's amazing that David Henry's doing it after all these years, right? It's pretty
incredible. He's still
pretty crazy. I always wonder, though, when you talk about, this is Doug Connor who wins the show. Let me just pull his picture up here so we can talk about it. This guy's going to be.
Dave, you often wonder what, Dave?
Oh, when guys are at their absolute best, like David Henry, and they win the Olympia, and then they start to see their physique maybe not be quite as good as it was in the past because they're getting older, and their waist is not as small, and maybe the skin is not as tight. I wonder. I always, it amazes me how people continue to keep going, because it is frustrating, because here he is. He was a world-class guy that no one could beat. And, and then you start getting beat by guys that shouldn't beat you, at least in your mind. It's hard. I would find that would be hard for me to deal with. And that was one of the reasons I stopped competing early on too, because I was like, you know what, if I'm going to get worse and people are going to beat me that I was beating before, I don't want to compete anymore. I had injuries. I couldn't be better than I was. And so I stopped. But some people just keep going. I don't know.
Well, David Henry still has young, unbruised, untorn up muscle.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, I think, if he could revisit the level of conditioning that he had in his heyday, and I don't know if that's doable, but, because he is older, but at his best, David Henry's no bigger. He might even be smaller on the scale than he is now. But at his best, his level of conditioning would destroy the 212 and open lineup here, because he's brought at certain shows conditioning that is like what John says, well, it takes the first, second and a half. Like the second he comes out from behind the stage, you're like, uh-oh, everyone's in trouble. So that's not to, he's third here, nothing to sneeze at, but,
I'll pull up his picture since we're talking about him now.
Like an old one where he was an amazing.
No, I want to pull up his picture now because I'm just, he's still got a tremendous physique, but, the guys are a little bigger. And like you said, Chris, his forte is coming in sliced to the bone.
Yeah, out of his mind sliced. And he's in good shape here. He's in good shape here, but there's different levels of conditioning for David Henry, and his ultimate level of condition is just, you see how his waist looks a little bit like his torso short, or,
right.
You never see that. You never notice it when he's crazy conditioned, because there's no reason to notice it, because you're looking at crazy detailed legs and just everything else that's detailed.
Yeah.
You don't look at the imperfections. Everyone has them, with the exception of, let's say, Wheeler. But you don't see them when he comes in at his absolute best. Yeah. I still think he can be extremely competitive at the highest level in the 212s if he can regain that level of conditioning.
Yeah, and I think he can do the conditioning, but is his skin the same? He's pretty hard here. Here's his money shot. The hands together, most muscular, that used to be the game. Basically game over shot. I called it for him, and it's just not as dominant as it used to be. That's all. And look, he's not 25 or 30 years old anymore.
Can you grab one from back in the day to show the comparison?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Because he's just not lighting up there like he used to.
No. And I don't know.
Hard there,
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. He looks amazing there, but we're trying to compare him to him.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying maybe his physique is just not the same as it was, because your body changes when you get older too.
Yeah, absolutely. Does it?
We all know that.
Oh man.
We all know it too well, baby.
Oh God. Yeah.
Let's see if I can pull up a good picture of him. Yeah, hold on.
Yeah, because see, as good as he looks there, when you look at that same shot from 10 years ago, it's like, whoa. The difference is insane.
I might even go on the record and say that his hands together, most muscular, might be one of the best of all time, even though he's not the biggest guy of all time.
Yeah. Is he still doing dog crap training?
That's a good question.
That was his big claim to fame back in the day. But that's hard to do, man. I don't know if you can still push that out at 40 something years old.
I don't even know how old he is, to be honest with you.
He's got to be in his 40s. He has to be.
Oh, he might be in his 50s or close.
He might be in his 50s, exactly.
This is a good shot. Hold on. It's not the shot I'm looking for, but this is a good shot, though. Hold on.
Do you have other pictures, Dave, of the two got first and second?
Yeah, I'm going to pull that up a second. I just want, just for John, I want to give this a little shot at David. And that's a crazy shot right there.
Right? Look at that.
I don't see that same physique anymore. That's all, you know. And there's nothing wrong. I mean, he still looks really good. He still looks better than 98% of the other guys out there. I mean, let's face it, he was third here. You know,
I know we're picking nits here,
we're
but
nitpicking.
But see, I think it's a matter of conditioning. I don't think his body's lost anything, and maybe it's even gotten better. It's just if he can bring that level of conditioning, we'd be able to see it. But that ain't easy.
Don't you think though your body kind of like it just, you know, it loses some of that pop? Chris talks about it. I think Chris, you refer to it as almost like young muscle. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I mean, it could be the same weight, same size. Just, you know, some people have a fresh. You know what? I was thinking of this, Dave. Listen, Ronnie had all the muscle in the world, and you know, by the time 2007 rolled around, you know, his muscle didn't have the same level of density. I guarantee if you measured his arms and chest and legs, they're probably the same size.
Maybe even bigger, yeah.
Right.
You know,
Right.
You know, Jay and, you know, when Phil came back, you know what I mean? We made fun of him a little bit and called him the JV Phil because, you know, he was big, but not big, you know, because the density factor was not there. As you get older, you know, the look of the muscle itself changes. You know, people talk about the skin changing, skin texture. Yeah, that's true. You know, structural changes because as you get older, no matter who you are, your waist gets wider. No matter who you are as a bodybuilder, your waist gets wider.
That's really what I see. Yeah, the waistline doesn't look the same. I think that's exactly.
Well, it's all weight at this point, Dave. It's all waistlines. This is the. You know, I mean, Jay said it. We all looked better when we were lighter because we had better waistlines. You know, he was talking about himself. He was talking about Coleman. That happened to Phil Heath. That happened to Sean Roden. Everyone had Cedric. Everyone had better waistlines when they were coming up and had less mass.
Sure.
There's Doug Connor. He's our winner of the 212. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, he looks good. Good everything. I mean, nothing sticks out, which is a plus. You know what I mean? Which means he's balanced, at least in that shot. Good legs, good midsection, good arms. He must have been, to win the show, he must have been good from behind, I would imagine.
Yeah, he was like, the pictures are not that great, I gotta tell you. And they're not doing justice to these guys, David Henry included, you know, but I think these guys looked a lot better in person. Here, we'll pull up Adolphus Kyoto, who was the second place. I actually like his physique a lot.
Big legs.
Right?
Yeah, big taper, big shoulders.
He's really good. And we'll talk about one more guy after this, but let's talk about Adolphus first. I mean, super thick. Who does this physique remind you of, Chris?
Looks exactly like someone's, right?
Yeah.
The minute you say it, I'm going to say exactly.
It's not Bertil Fox, do you think?
No.
So he reminds me of someone. I can't put it in my head who he reminds me of, but a lot of muscle on his body.
Yeah, his front double looks like Rude Boys. You know, right. Ricardo.
Yeah. Correa.
Yeah.
This guy's really good. You know, look, even his side poses. He's got a lot of density and thickness in his physique. We'll pull up one more picture. It's got to be harder for the judges to judge shows where the guys are not like household names. When they're household names, you kind of know who's up there, you know. And
well, when you don't have household names, then you just got to do your job.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I said
it's harder. Yeah, it's harder. And you know, the fourth place finishes Steve Didashak won the amateur and turned pro the day before, I believe it was, which is kind of cool to get to do a pro show. I love that. That's the way it used to be, you know, with the universe, right? The guys would turn pro and then they do the pro division back in Arnold's day. I think that's great. He looks really good. I think he's going to have to go to the open class eventually. But what do you think of Didashak and his victory in the pro qualifier, and then of course,
super arms, great legs, most muscular, small waist, dense. You know, you could argue that he, you know, pop up a spot.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue he could have won this, you know, 212.
Maybe they looked at him as an amateur.
Yeah, you know, very few people do we see go from winning their pro card to winning a pro event. I think what's his name? Your guy, the freezer guy. What's his name? I can't remember his name. He did that in one weekend too. Who am I talking about, Chris?
Molnar.
Oh yeah, Peter Molnar, right? He was an absolute freak at that show. He won his pro card. Then the day after, he won the pro event and qualified for the Olympia. Insane. What do you think about the classic physique division? Anthony Casado wins that. I'll pull up his picture.
Well, the kid, he won the amateur, then he won the pro the next day. Same thing.
He did. I didn't even know that.
He pulled the Molnar.
Pulled the Molnar. He looks just like, what's his name? Danny Union a little bit, right?
He does look exactly like Danny Union's physique.
He even facially looks like Danny Union. That's the funny
Dave,
thing.
I knew you know what? I knew you were going to say he looks like Danny Union.
He looks like he could be his brother, his long lost brother.
Believe me, Dave, the minute I saw the pictures, I was helping the coach and the kid who got third.
Right.
And I saw the pictures and I'm like, oh, Danny Union is in the show. Even the face, right?
Yeah, no, they got the same nose and everything. It's funny.
Danny's got better legs than him.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. It is seeing them on stage will be very funny,
Yeah, qualified for the Olympia. Was an amateur, won the amateur.
Yep.
Next day, won the pros.
That's amazing.
Off I go.
I got to get him to contact me so we can get him on the show because that's a great. Anyone who can do that in 1 weekend deserves an interview for sure. Let's talk about Romain Ramesi. He was second place here. What do you know about him, Chris?
Let me see the pictures because I haven't really taken a good look.
Yeah, I'll pull up his pictures. Hold on.
I didn't see many pictures. I thought he was a little. Is he great? Legs better than the upper body.
He's good, but he seems like he's a little on the smaller side. But I mean,
that's what I thought. I wasn't sure if it was just like this angle of this picture because I didn't see many pictures.
He's got pretty good conditioning. I'll pull up a back picture. Hold on. Once again, I get excited when I get to look at guys' physiques that have done really well at a pro show and that I don't really know that well because that means that's new talent coming into the division. And this classic physique division is like every single show we're getting like new guys.
Yeah. Classic, you have, infinitesimal amount of good guys. And his condition's very good.
Yeah. So, we got to look out for these two guys over the next.
You got the third place. That's a guy I coach.
Yeah, I'm going to pull him up right now.
Ramon Hay. I haven't seen pictures. Yeah, Ramon Hay. Another Canadian. 1, 2, 3 is Canadians.
Yeah, what I don't understand is these shows. They had no pictures there, and then they put up the one set of pictures that whoever took, and they were the lighting was horrendous. Now I don't know if the lighting on stage was horrendous, or if the photographer's lighting, the way he shot the show was just not good. These big shows, they gotta get better pictures. I think. I think everyone's so enthralled with video nowadays, Chris. No one cares about the photography aspect of it.
Yeah,
it's like almost like a lost art. Now how long you been working with him?
9 months a year. 9 months a year or so.
And what's his background, Ramon?
Competed last time. He was 220 here. He competed at 199 last show.
Wow. Oh, so he made a huge. What's his weight cap on this division?
220.
Oh, so you brought him right
so,
into the
yeah,
top.
So he's big. I mean, I think he went on stage maybe a little bit lighter.
He's really impressive from the back. Great conditioning.
Yeah, the judge showed him the opposite.
What?
Yeah.
He's got shredded glutes. His back is shredded.
Yeah. No, I guess he needs more back density. I think that was the not all the way into the pose here, but he was starting to turn that head for John Romano.
There he is. Yeah, he's turning that. Now, when you see a guy like this, Chris, and he's at the limit of whatever he can weigh for classic, is this a guy you would recommend going into the open?
Yeah, he could be, if he wanted to be 235 next year, piece of cake, easy.
Wow, really? Oh, so he grows really easily. Yeah,
especially with that head turning like that. Just chewing.
There you go. Got to turn that head, guys.
I am never going to let up on that, just so everybody knows.
It looked like everyone did it back in the day, John. I was standing in the posing room at Gold's Gym, and I think it was Flex Wheeler was in there posing, and I forgot who said it. I think it was
What's that guy who started nutritionalysis with Billy Smith?
Neil
Spruce. I think it was Neil Spruce. He said, "Turn your head." And
well, John, that's because there's famous Arnold pictures of him turning his head, so everyone did it.
Yeah.
And remember, Franco used to do a back lat spread, and it turned his head right like an owl, almost to like to the audience. And it was
like
meant
over his shoulder. Yeah, yeah.
It was meant to like give the audience like, can you believe that?
But the way it stretches that trap, it just looks so cool. If you got big traps and you're really in shape, it just looks so amazing. I think makes that trap look like 2 feet long.
We got let's pull up our men. So while we're doing all the men, let's pull up the men's physique winner, Davide Mazzolari. Very impressive physique. These men's physique guys, they're so big now. I think they're actually bigger than the upper body, at least. I think they're up bigger than the actual classic physique guys because remember, they have no weight limit, really.
Yeah. And they have no legs. So you take 20 pounds out of your quads and put it in the freaking upper body, of course.
But if they're bigger, they don't have to make a weight, John. They can be as big as they want.
They should rename this category the lawn dart category. Remember the lawn darts when you were a kid? You put the circle on the round and you throw that dart up in the air and it comes down and sticks in the grass and it's just
did they ban lawn darts because people were getting killed?
Yeah, because people would. That's right. Now they make them out of plastic.
So you throw one of these guys in the air, what's going to happen? They're going to come down and they're going to stick in the grass, sticking up like.
Now you throw one, John, and it's like ends up in the neighbor's yard because the wind takes it because it's made out of plastic.
Kills the neighbor's dog. Yeah.
No, you get the stick with the rubber band on the end and you pull it like this and you launch the dart and it goes up in the air and comes down.
Listen,
the neighbor's yard in the grass.
Jimmy would say it's going to hit the firmament up there. Yeah.
It's an ice
Dave,
wall.
it's
going to come down on the ice wall.
Yeah.
Men's physique and classic physique is draining bodybuilding down to like nothing.
It really
because
is.
it used to be you'd see classic physique people and you'd say like, well, let's see how this guy would do in the open. I mean, I see some people who are in the men's physique and I say, I wonder how they would do in the 212 or the open, or the open. Like if the guy wanted to take a year, that's it. If Gaspari in 1 year can set that limit, like, okay, Dad, I'm going to take 1 year and see what I can do.
Right.
There's a few people.
I'll bet you Brandon Hendrickson, who's the Olympia champ in men's physique, I bet you he can do classic physique and he would, or even 212, and I bet you he would do very well because he trains his legs. You can tell he's got legs.
Brandon has a great physique, and he's the nothing against him, and he is the champ in that division. But there are people who blast him off the stage in terms of size.
Mm-hmm. Right, but
in
do they
that
have
division
the too? Do they have?
Well, I don't know, but if because that division is just not about being big, but there, it's about being complete, which is why Brandon's winning. But there are people who he is beating, but he's nowhere near as big as them. They're got colossal upper bodies with full pecs, crazy abs, dynamite delts, back width. They're not even posing their back. You can see that there's back density there. Mm-hmm. And those guys could be good bodybuilders. And that's why, we're seeing, we're not seeing, we're going nuts over Quinton, but he used to be nothing against him, but he used to be, there used to be 5 Quintons in a show like that. In other words, 5 really good physiques in a pro show who all of them had bells and whistles and they'd all destroy like the bigger guys. Now it's like there's less of them and the bigger guys are rising, the cream of the crop. They're rising to the top.
See, that's what's good about, I think, what physique and board shorts is, or classic physique and physique,
men's physique,
are doing. You're emptying out the open of these guys that are just not what my point is, what you end up with is if the open is going to be filled with freaks. And that's what we want to see in that category. You want to see the genetically gifted, myostatin negative fucking freak. 300 pounds. That's what we want to see in the open now because we have that venue because the classic good-looking guys that were going to be the 90s relevance Go to
That's
those
a good point.
other divisions. So I think it frees up the extreme, and I think the extreme is a very relevant end of what we do.
Well,
So
it is. I mean, it's, you know what, there may be, you're 100% right, John, because it's, you know, I was looking at it from like loving to see the, you know,
the classic.
the classic look in the open.
Right.
You know, I'd like to see the wheelers, but of course the Nassers and the Dorians would always beat the wheelers.
Yep.
Right.
So now you got a place for the wheelers, and you got a place, and now the Nassers and the Yateses and everything can stop trying to be like the wheelers, and the wheelers can stop trying to be like the Nassers, and they, you know, go their separate ways, and we get the best of both, I think. So
speaking of Pavel Jablonski, Milos had this from the '99 Olympia on his phone, or his Instagram, I should say. There's the great Nasser El-Somebody.
It looked like Nasser. Yeah, I was going to say Nasser.
I don't think Nasser was that good in '99, was he, Chris? No.
Yeah, he was very good in '99.
He was big, but he wasn't as. I think he was better in '98.
Yeah, he wasn't quite as sharp. Yeah, he was definitely better in '98.
'98 was an amazing year for our sport. I think one of the best.
'99 was pretty good too.
'99 was good. I think
good show. You had, you know, of course, you know, Coleman winning again, and I mean, here's Nasser.
Is this Nasser better than Ramy or no? I always ask you this.
Ramy's got him on the back double for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
Front shots, Nasser's got him. Ramy's probably got him on the
side.
The side shots.
Look at why can Nasser never open his back up?
Because
he
doesn't like Dave. I don't like the pose, so I don't even want to present it the way I think it's shit. We should get rid of that pose. Side tricep, I hit it. My tricep is Dorian's got no tricep, on tricep. Yeah, he's better in '98. He's a little flat here.
Yeah,
compared to the way he was. He started like the quads were bigger in '98.
Look at Cormier here. Cormier was great here.
Cormier was great in '98.
Yeah.
Cormier can win the Olympia now, looking like this, right?
Yeah, I would look at. I mean, this is a branding-esque physique with 10 times better quads.
Yeah,
look at that front lat spread.
Ah,
crazy.
You forget. I mean, sometimes you forget. You know,
I don't forget
in a while. The symmetry is just insane.
And you know, when you're sitting in the audience and we were watching this, we're like, what? You think like Cormier can win the Olympia looking this, but then Ronnie comes out. Or Jay wasn't even at the top of his game this year.
Jay was second to last here, and he was unbelievable.
Yeah, and he was good. He was good in '99, and he was great when he went on the European tour.
Jay was phenomenal in '99.
Yeah. There's Ronnie. Look at Ronnie.
Look at that waist.
It's amazing that Ronnie looked as good because Ronnie had no idea how to pose. Like, really? You know, he just had a ton of muscle on his body.
Right? Isn't that
Cormier is closer in these shows to Coleman. Look at the right.
Look at Ronnie. He can't hit. He doesn't know how to go up on his toe here. He has no idea how to pose whatsoever, and he doesn't even have to because he's so good.
He trained the same way. His form was freaking horrible. And
let's see, John, if he turns the head here.
Let me see. He might. I think he does, or maybe he doesn't. I don't know.
I know Wheeler does it.
Yeah, Wheeler does it.
Look at that back.
Fuck.
People forget how good Ronnie was. I mean, nope, not turning the head.
Nope. He's turning his whole body.
He's saying, John, there I am, John.
Johnny,
don't worry, Romano, I'm coming.
He was much tighter in '98.
Yeah.
Yes. He's bigger here, though, I think.
Yeah, but the '98 version would have spanked this.
Yep.
Yeah.
'98, he was inside out. Here, his glutes are barely in. They're just that they're lean. You know what I mean?
You know,
I mean, in '98, they were just like crazy upon crazy.
I still think Wheeler had him in '98. I will never leave.
It was very close, John, in '98.
I thought it came down to statesmanship and personality rather than physique for that. It was a hair you had to split.
Yeah.
And I think it was.
Here's Wheeler. Let's see the Wheeler.
Let's see. I'm trying to pull Wheeler up. Here we go.
Hold on, Dave. Pause for a minute.
Okay.
We have gone through. Pause it.
Yeah.
Look at this lineup. Cormier, the most underrated guy. To me, he looks as good as anyone in that show.
Yeah.
Cormier. Then we went to Nasser. Then we went to Ronnie. Now we're going to Wheeler. And you still got Lavrone and Sherlinkamp, I think, and Jay, Dexter.
I skipped over Dexter. Yeah. Everyone was great.
Dexter.
Let's see.
Jay.
Look at that front lat spread.
Fuck. Unbelievable.
And one of the things about Flex was he was such a good poser too. He knew how to really showcase his strengths and hide his weaknesses.
Wasn't he a Ron Love disciple?
No. He might have been. I don't know.
Or John Brown.
I don't think John Brown taught him to pose. Did he?
One of the two helped him. I remember
Cormier was tighter than him at this show for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Wheeler always said, after '98, he didn't train as hard because he felt like he was never going to win the Olympia, which is a mistake because he could have won this show, had he come in looking inside out.
Yeah, if '98 Wheeler came back in '99 and could give a '99's Ronnie, Flex would have won.
Turns that head for you, John. You see that? Turn that head for you.
Yep. Turn the head.
The problem was that Ronnie was just too freaking crazy, big, for these guys, and that's really what it amounted to. And you had to see it in person really to understand it,
True.
Flex had a great ab thigh shot though.
Incredible.
Good leg separation.
Yeah.
People don't even have leg separation.
No.
The way it ties into his waist to the top of his quads, it looks incredible.
Think about this. This is '99. Who do you think's filming this? There's no phones. Like someone's got like a little camera hidden or something like that. This is not the official.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's so bumping around.
There's LeBron.
Up, Dave.
What a lineup, right? Holy mackerel.
Fuck.
Dave, you know what was good about '99? This era, it doesn't happen anymore. It's just not the way people respond anymore.
Nope.
People would come out to do their mandatories here, and the reason they're going slow. See how slow they're hitting their mandatories? Because the audience would go nuts.
Yeah,
every
shot.
Every pose, yeah.
So he's going to turn around, he's going to milk it, and he's going to take his time, and he's going to put. And then here's the audience going nuts right now.
Yeah.
Now they're like, everyone's a critic. Everyone's texting, LeBron could be tighter.
Yeah.
His hamstring tighter 2 years ago. This is a good version of Kevin.
Yeah, it was good.
Not his absolute best, but it's a good version.
Levrone always peaked for like the tour.
Yeah.
The European tour after that,
Call it the vodka tour.
The vodka tour, yeah. Let's see who else is here.
Oh, there's our guy. Looks
There's
great.
your boy.
Sean looks tremendous here. Look at that.
Yeah, he was good in '99, yeah.
Unbelievable back double. Superbly complete. He wasn't the widest, but he had a good back lats, but he knew how to open it up.
Yeah, no, he knew how to pose and present his physique, sure. And he was the shortest guy on stage, aside from maybe Lee Priest.
We haven't even get to Milos, and it's his video.
I know.
And I'm sure Milos, you know what? I was there, was the best Milos ever looked in '99. Someone's phone's going off.
Must be. These guys really knew how to hit the maybe there was a guy videotaping. These guys really knew how to hit their mandatories too.
Look at that side try.
Yeah.
Look, is this Milos? This is a little flat. Here comes Milos. Look at the leg separation.
If Milos had arms,
oh yeah,
he would have been deadly.
Yeah,
deadly.
Tries and tries.
Yeah, that was.
You can hide him in this shot. Look at the front lat spread.
Wow.
That was Milos's one drawback. His arms were not, and that was an era where guys' arms were ridiculous, right? I mean,
look at Flex's.
Flex,
crazy.
Ronnie and Ronnie. I mean, they had the freaking crazy
arms. Cormier.
Yeah, Cormier too, right? With those biceps.
Yep.
Anyway, we'll figure you guys would get a kick out of that little
What a
flashback to
Pirate
the
film.
99 of Mr. Olympia.
What a lineup!
Right. Can you believe how long ago? That was over 20 years ago. How old do you feel?
Dave, I remember going I remember going to see the show, and I was with Jay, and like I thought he was going to be top 3, and they had him like 15th.
Yeah, why do you think that was? Just because they didn't really know who he was, or
they had nobody expected him to come in 99 looking like that.
Right.
He looked great in 99, so they were just like, well, you're not Cormier, Wheeler. I mean, you had to get by names established.
Look at this. Hold on. Let's
But
take
he
a
looked
look
completely
at
crazy.
Remember
Look at
sitting
the
in the
first
front row at 98, and when Wheeler and Coleman are up there, and D'Amelia's going, the next. He dragged that out for like 5 minutes. It was
This call out is nuts. That front lat spread, right?
I know.
I'm telling you, Cormier is deadly there.
Mhm.
He was.
Yeah, no, he looked phenomenal here.
You could argue that he had that front lat spread.
Yeah.
And Ronnie don't know how to hit the side. Ronnie's hitting a
Ronnie
bicep
can't hit
shot.
a side tricep at all. Even though he should destroy those guys on the chat.
It's like he's serving.
Ronnie just can't wait to get to the back double.
Yeah, he likes the back post. Yeah, because he can pull his trunks up and hit the glute shot.
Right.
Because he knew those guys weren't going to have the glutes he had.
Look at the hams on Cormier.
Fuck. You know, Chris. I would have loved to see what Chris would have looked like had he lived the monk-like lifestyle that Coleman led. You know.
And everybody's turning their head. Notice.
Yeah.
Everybody. All 3 of them.
John feels very content.
I'm validated.
Who's better?
It's
Cormier's third here. Who would win, him or Hadi Chupin?
Hadi wouldn't be able to make the top 5.
Hadi wouldn't have been in the top 5.
Yeah.
Look at Coleman's back there, dude. When he pulled that back.
Fuck.
Yeah, that's a great shot. Ronnie had a great back lat spread. Yeah.
Insane.
Look at that.
Not better than Joel Stubbs.
Yeah.
Okay, Ronnie side tricep. Ronnie don't know what that.
No, he doesn't have side tricep.
What is that?
I don't know why he couldn't hit a side tricep either. I don't know what it was. He just couldn't hit it.
He's gone from side to side twice. Well, there he hits it a little bit. You know, he looks okay there. He makes himself look. All his poses, he makes himself look half the size of.
He scrunches down like on the shot instead of like lifting his body up to be. That just imagine if he would have been a poser like Wheeler or Cormier was, how good he would have been. He was just up there like having fun, like a good old boy up there, you know.
Yeah.
He just, it's like going to a gunfight and you have the biggest gun. That's all there is to it, And who's going to beat that? Your gun, So anyway, that's fun to look at the old times. And congratulations to Joel Thomas on the victory in the Olympia qualification. All the winners from this past weekend at the Toronto Super Show. We got the Nationals coming up, in 2 weeks now? Not this week, the following week, and then we got
Miami, right?
It's amazing. This is the first year I can remember where the bodybuilding season went to the very end, right to Christmas. Next year, when's the Olympia going to be next year? Is they moving that back to December again? Is that what Dan Solomon said? Yeah. December is the Olympia, which I think is a mistake because I think it's too close to the Arnold, to be honest with you. But
it adds another fly in the ointment. I kind of like it.
How do you do the Olympia, John, and then get ready for the Arnold?
Well, see, that presents a new challenge, and I think I think these guys don't compete enough. I never have. One show a year, 2 shows a year. We come from an era where guys did 6, 7, 8 shows a year, and the fact that that added a level of difficulty to the prep and all things considered. So now, you got these guys that are going to do, I'm going to do the Arnold, I'm going to do the Olympia because they're 6 months apart, or I'm going to do one or the other. Usually it's one or the other. So I think packing them in like that gives the opportunity for more guys to compete more often. Right. And it's better for us. It's better for the fans. It's better for the people covering it. I would like to see competitors compete more often, especially the big name guys. It sucks that you just got to like see this guy once and then you got to wait an entire year to see him again. And then it's all the speculation in between. Who do you think's going to win the Olympia? I don't fucking know because I haven't seen anybody, you know?
Well, nowadays we see everyone on social media. So
but that's with 17 filters later. I want to see contests.
We should have an Instagram Mr. Olympia. Like, who could do the best Photoshop job on their best filtering job on their picture?
Called the Filter Olympia.
All right, we got to wrap this up, guys. Thanks for joining me today, and thanks for joining us live to all the live viewers out there. As we say every week, with Heavy Muscle Radio,
the truth hurts.
We'll see you next week.